Okay, so for this mocktail, we're going to start off, we're going to follow, the same principles that you would to be making any sort of cocktail or any sort of drink. So we want to start off with our simple syrup. Simple syrup is something that's used in most cold drinks, especially because it dissolves a lot easier. So we're going to make our simple syrup with honey. Usually simple syrup is just sugar and water. We want to use honey for this. Now what would happen if I were to put just regular honey directly into my cold cocktail and try to stir it through?
Globs of honey?
Yeah, it's not going to work. It's going to sink to the bottom. It's not going to dissolve well. The first 90% of your drink is going to taste bland, and then you're going to get this really big sweet punch at the end. So that's why we're going to make the simple syrup.
Nobody likes to get punched at the end.
No one likes to get punched.
Okay.
Even a sweet punch. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of honey. This is a quick way to do a simple syrup. Most simple syrups are done stovetop. You can put the exact same ingredients into a small pot, bring it to a simmer, and let it sort of heat like very gently for about 10 minutes. This is going to be a much quicker way that we're doing. I'm just using a mason jar. So a little bit of honey in there. Whatever flavors I want to infuse this simple syrup. So it could just be, the peel of an orange or a lemon, or today we're going to get a little crazy, and it's Thanksgiving soon, so we're going to use rosemary, which it does work well in drinks. It actually has a really nice refreshing note to it. So we're going to add some peel of our little clementine here. I'm going to add a few pieces of rosemary. If I want it just a little light on the rosemary, just add a few pieces.
Could you use dry rosemary, and would it work as well?
Yeah, you can definitely use dry rosemary. Dry rosemary has a little bit more of an intense flavor, so I'd probably use less than like 3 stems. I'd probably use maybe a tablespoon of dry rosemary. So that's going to go in there. And then for whatever amount of honey that I'm using, so if I'm using half a cup of honey, I'm going to use half the amount of water. So I've got some boiling water. So we're going to add about a 1/4 cup or so. It's almost like we're making a really sweet tea. I would not suggest drinking that straight up.
Giving people ideas.
Yeah. So, and this works again, like I said, with any sort of flavors. So lid on top, we've got our honey, we've got our hot water, and we're just gonna give it a shake. And what we wanna do is just get that honey to dissolve into the water.
So you're forcing that glob to dissipate into the water.
Exactly.
So it'll mix with your drink.
Yeah, so we have a very much thinner sort of sweetener that dissolves a lot easier in cold drinks. The longer you let this steep, obviously the more flavor you're going to get out of the rosemary or whatever you put in it. So you're going to let this chill, and this will keep in the fridge, for a couple weeks, no problem. And the longer it sits, the more flavor you have. And so this is what we have. I made a lot more, obviously, but it's a lot thinner than your honey. It's going to dissolve well, and the rosemary in here is fantastic, really, really nice. So we have our simple syrup, really simple. So it's called simple syrup. Now for the cocktail.
Mocktail.
We use a lot of mason jars, I realized, in this class. You don't have to use that. You can use any sort of wide mouth glass would work really well. So cranberries, delicious. These are fresh cranberries. You can use frozen. About a 1/4 cup. That one's gone.
Cranberries are one of the most well-studied foods in terms of their antioxidant potential.
And then you're going to bash it all up, which is what I'm doing here.
Doing some muddling.
This is called muddling. Now I have a muddler, that's what this is called. It looks like a wooden spoon, so you can definitely use anything that will crush these cranberries and blackberries for you. Any sort of berries will work well. The reason I just didn't use the cranberries is because fresh, it's hard to get that moisture and that juice out of it. You will, and the more you crush it, you'll get more of that moisture. These tend to need to be cooked down a little bit to really make that juice or get that sauce. So that's why I've added another berry in there just to help it. And we want to just crush it up as much as possible. Almost like we're making a jam. Now, if I were to use any fresh herbs in here. So rosemary, but what are some other fresh herbs that you see in cocktails like a lot? Mint. Yes, mint. One of my favorite mocktails, the mojito. And the problem that I see with some people is when they put their mint and they're doing their muddling is they bruise the heck out of the herb. Now, what happens when you bruise herbs, like I talked about before?
It gets slimy.
It's bitter. It's bitter. Mint has a beautiful flavor, fresh on its own. When you start smashing it to death, it becomes bruised, it doesn't look good, and it becomes bitter. So if I were to add any herbs to this, or if I'm making any other sort of drink or sort of mocktail, bruise them a little bit, but just don't kill them. Like I would probably add them right at the end, give it a couple crushes, and that'll be good to go. So, bashed up our berries pretty good. We're gonna add a little bit of juice from our mandarin or orange here. Any orange will work. And about 4 tablespoons right inside. So we can mix that up a little bit. And then we're gonna put some ice in this. So you wanna make sure that if you're doing this, do it in a vessel that you can close after, like put a lid on top.
You're gonna shake it up?
Shake it up. I'm going to just add a little bit more mandarin just because that one was really dry. So this one has a lid. If you have like the classic cocktail shakers, you'll have another kind of glass, or almost like 2 glasses that you'll put on top of each other. All right, so the juice, the mandarin. Now, the key to making a really good drink, a really flavorful drink, is using very fresh ingredients. If I'm using like orange juice out of a bottle, it's not going to taste as good. You want like fresh citrus, fresh berries work really well. Christy, I'm going to let you shake this up.
Woohoo!
So, it'll slip out of my hand probably. So just shake it up, get all those flavors together. By adding the ice, what you're doing is you're super chilling it as well.
And you get some meltage, which is good. So you end up getting some water in there, diluting it just a little.
Actually, open up for 1 second.
Add our special syrup.
This is our rosemary simple syrup.
And rosemary in plant and animal studies, it's been shown to help slow down tumor growth. So may have some cancer-fighting benefits in people, but we need some more research to know. Also may help to improve circulation.
So if you're serving it to somebody like Christy, you wanna class it up a little bit? So get your
I will not drink out of this mason jar.
Your fancy champagne flute.
A girl has to have standards.
I'm going to class it down, and I'm going to put...
This is the man version. For some reason, men don't like drinking out of these tall champagne flutes.
I'm just very klutzy. This would fall out of my hand in about 2 minutes. So now we're going to strain it, actually, because we don't want all those chunks. We want to make this...
I like to chew on my drink.
Nice and delicate. Oh, I've never done this in the champagne flute. This is going to be tough. So very gentle.
You could strain it into a pitcher or something and then serve it.
Yeah, that would be a lot easier.
In hindsight.
But we're going to make this difficult. Okay, that's all you get. Sorry. The mason jar. It's going to be a lot easier.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, do this in a much larger bowl. That would be much easier.
I want the actual berries, though.
Yeah, we're gonna put some berries in there.
Okay, good.
There's tons of juice in here.
So you just
squish
it out?
Yeah, squish it out. Make sure you get most of it. I'm gonna speed this up, but take your time. There's tons of juice. You don't want to lose any of that. And then, let's clean it up. To make it sparkling.
Ooh. It's always good to add a little sparkle to your mocktails and give it that champagne feeling. Nice and refreshing.
We'll add just a little bit of carbonated or sparkling water on top. And we don't want this, too sweet, so balance it out with the carbonated water to make sure it's to your liking. And that's it. Garnish it. A little rosemary for me. We have blackberry and a couple cranberries for Christy.
Beautiful. Cheers.